Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. There's a hell of a lot going on. I had a hard time kind of putting the information together because I kept ending up with pages and pages, and I had to distill that down a little bit. And to complicate things further, because where we are in this process of the reinstitution and revaluation of the dinar, I think it was time to go back and take a quick look at history because, in my opinion, it literally took us 100 years or so to get to where we are today. But here it goes. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to go all the way back to 1912. The sinking of the Titanic. Now, what in blazes does that have to do with anything we're discussing? Well, it seems that three of the wealthiest individuals in the United States and bankers were on the Titanic. There was a fourth, J.P. Morgan, who mysteriously canceled a day before the ship sailed and left port. So the wealthiest bankers in the United States, by majority, happened to be on the Titanic. Again, that was 1912. What happened in 1913 shortly thereafter? The creation of the Federal Reserve and the federal income tax. Now, the Federal Reserve is not federal and it's not a reserve. It's a central bank. In fact, it was the third central bank that had been established in the United States. The previous ones were canceled for cause. The creation of the Federal Reserve, as we look back 100 years later, we can see why Donald Trump, in my opinion's ultimate objective is to end the Federal Reserve. I'll just give you a quick overview. Since the creation of the Federal Reserve, the value of the United States dollar has dropped by over 90%. And what I mean by value is its purchasing power. Simultaneous to that, the federal debt has increased exponentially. So what purpose did the Federal Reserve do? What was its purpose? What did it do? In my view, it did nothing but hurt the country. As an example, when the Federal Reserve was created, the goods and services that you could purchase for $100 would today cost you $2,150. That means since the creation of the Federal Reserve, we've had an inflation rate of over 2,000%. And one of the alleged reasons, stated reasons for creating the Federal Reserve was to control inflation. So once again, in my opinion, the government just flat out lied to us in order to get what they wanted. Something else was created in 1913, was the Rockefeller Foundation. And it was established to provide assistance and progress in three areas: the medical area, the area of education, and the area of science. Well, I'm going to leave the area of science alone, but let's talk about education in the medical field. We know what the public education system has done in the United States. It's created, as Woodrow Wilson said, a thrifty working class, but it did not create what they used to refer to as men of letters, meaning individuals that were genuinely well-educated and able to problem solve. But in the area of the medical field, they created, as many of the things that they created, one of them was the American Cancer Society. And what came out of the American Cancer Society? Big Pharma. And you don't have to look any further than the discussions going on right now with the testimony of RFK Jr. right now in the Senate with regard to Big Pharma and the problems created. One other thing was created was the Anti-Defamation League. Its purpose then and now, in my opinion, based on what we've seen in Congress recently, is basically to silence its critics. Shut up and do what you're told. Now, why do I get into all of this? Because after 1913, in 1914, we had World War I. The United States, along with its allies in Europe, won that war. As a result, the United States legitimately became a world superpower, I would argue the greatest superpower. That meant that the U.S. dollar became the world reserve currency. One of the reasons that happened was because the United States, through the Marshall Plan, basically rebuilt Europe after World War II. But there was a problem, and that is that the world reserve currency, the United States dollar, was a fiat currency dollar. Now, what do I mean by fiat? Fiat means the value of the currency is not based on the known natural resources of a country or their ability to bring those resources to market. It means the U.S. dollar was based solely on the full faith and credit of the United States. In essence, we just promised to pay you. Now, what's the problem with the fiat currency? Inflation. As I said, the goods and services that could be purchased in 1913 for $100 in 2013 would cost you $2,150. But fortunately, along the way, sanity began to prevail, and they decided that they could not continue on the trajectory that they were going. As Montesquieu said, fiat currency will eventually reach its intrinsic value of zero, and that's exactly what was happening. So in 1988, we established a global valuation for currencies called Basel compliance, meaning that currencies in a given country were not going to be based on the full faith and credit of that country, but were going to be based on the known natural resources in that country and the ability to bring those resources to market. In addition, Basel compliance was a 5-phased process, meaning that as each phase proceeded, each country needed more natural resources to back their currency. So currencies were no longer a promise to pay. Currencies were backed by commodities. And during this process, shortly after it began in 1988, Iraq invaded Kuwait. And the United States, along with its allies, were able to expel Iraq from Kuwait and reestablish Kuwait as a free, sovereign nation country, and basically took control of Iraq. And in order to assist Iraq for its rebuilding, central banks, hedge funds, and even individuals like ourselves were able to purchase the Iraqi dinar, that money used basically to rebuild the nation state of Iraq. So we purchased the Iraqi dinar when it was in a program rate worth virtually nothing. And we are about to see the reinstitution and revaluation of the Iraqi dinar when we're at the stage 4 of Basel compliance, meaning that we purchased the currency in order to assist a country that was basically in receivership, and now we're very shortly going to be going to the banks to exchange that dinar for the U.S. dollar at a Basel IV compliant rate, again with the understanding that per square mile it can be argued that Iraq is the wealthiest country in the nation. Now, I've done entire calls explaining the natural resources of Iraq, the absolute embarrassment of wealth that they have. One of the reasons that the Iranians cannot get Iraq out of their head is because even though Iraq is much smaller than Iran, the wealth of Iraq dwarfs that of Iran, dwarfs that of Kuwait, dwarfs that of the other countries in the Middle East. So where do we find ourselves today in Iraq? Well, we seem to have cooperation, genuine cooperation between the Prime Minister of Iraq in Baghdad, Soudani, and President of Kurdistan, Barzani. And what we can expect in the very near future, and I'm not talking months, I'm talking weeks, is the release of the HCL, which basically is the citizens of Iraq participating in the profit of the sale of oil. And Iraq is very rich in oil. Iraq also has the sweetest known crude in the world, meaning that it has the lowest sulfur content, meaning that it's much more easily refined, meaning that countries would prefer to buy a clean oil rather than something, for example, from Venezuela that's filthy by comparison. We also know that the salaries for the citizens of Kurdistan for August were paid, which means we're in a good position for something to happen very shortly with regard to the value of the Iraqi dinar. And now with the opening of the budget and Article 12-2C, we see that Iraq internally is in essence operating with a new rate anyway. Now, with the open market, we expect to see the Iraqi dinar float on the Forex, and we see organizations in Iraq moving that make that happen. For example, there is SOMO, S-O-M-O, which is a state organization to market oil, which has to do with the payment of the oil being sent from Kurdistan to Baghdad. We also see Article 12-2C of the budget, which does not hold a new rate, but it does require a new rate, and the rate's going to be based on the cost of the extraction and transport of oil, and then the Minister of Oil, who is appointing a special commission to assess that cost, all of which is, of course, progress. We have a meeting with the Minister of Finance to finalize the budget tables, and the formula for the rate is, of course, the sale of the oil, which equals the final payment of the HCL and the salaries, and funding the budget. Again, the HCL is the citizens of Iraq participating in the profit from the sale of the oil globally. We have the payment of their salaries in August, so now we're ready to go in September, hopefully, with the new rate. We also have the budget tables. In Iraq, again, I mentioned SOMO, which, of course, is the state oil marketing, a state organization for marketing oil, but we also have the INOC, which is Iraqi National Oil Company, dealing specifically with the sale of oil from Baghdad. And lastly, we have in the Gazette the process of shifting the IQD valuation from trillions to billions. So when you put all of this together, it's as though they're circling the new rate. From every angle, the new rate is being certainly promoted internally, and we should expect to see this externally as well. So I had to shorten the call because I didn't want to get into the weeds with everything. I wanted to try to keep it as simple as I could, but I think we find ourselves where we've been waiting since the day we purchased the Iraqi dinar. And in my opinion, I think we're talking weeks at this point. Now, having said that, those of us who have been involved in this are going to roll their eyes, and I understand that, because how many times has it been 2 steps forward, 1 step back? We have the issue of Iran, which always tries to interject itself because they just cannot accept the fact that Iraq is going to be a world player and Iran is diminished as a world player. But we also have an administration in the United States which is doing everything it can. And I would argue that the United States, more so than any other country, has influence on what happens in Iraq. And I would also argue that of all the administrations in this country, since this going all the way back to 1988, we don't have any other administration that I would want there at this particular time than the Trump administration. If you remember from Trump's first term, he talked about a number of things repeatedly. One, he talked about our unacceptable trade deficit caused by countries like China that artificially devalued their currency. And he also talked about establishing an equal playing field for the valuation of currencies, and that's Basel compliance. And so all of these things are coming together. I think we're picking up momentum. And I'll mention one other thing. For those of you that were involved in the reestablishment of the Kuwaiti dinar, 2 or 3 weeks before the Kuwaiti dinar was reestablished, the Kuwaiti Central Bank issued a public statement saying that they did not expect the Kuwaiti dinar to reinstitute for at least another year. Now, their math can't possibly be that bad. So in my view, what was happening is they just did not want to alert the currency speculators and the whale investors a date and a rate, because they knew that they were going to play games and it was going to create a yo-yo effect, and as many people that made money would lose money. They didn't want that to happen in Kuwait. And remember, what's going to happen in Iraq will dwarf what happened in Kuwait. I mean, I could argue that this could be the single largest financial adjustment globally in world history. And for those of us that have purchased the Iraqi dinar and other currencies, the Vietnamese dong looks very good. I mean, one could argue that the Iraqi dinar is just the first domino of a number of countries that are going to be reinstituting. It's going to be a new ball game out there. So those of us that have dinar are certainly going to be very, very well off. But from my discussions with our clients, most of our clients have dong and other currencies as well. We have one client, I certainly can't name a name. This individual has 500 million dinar and 500 million dong. And I joke with the guy and I say, unless you're immortal, I can't possibly imagine what you could do with all that money. And he's got a lot of philanthropic endeavors he's involved in. So his gain is going to be the gain for a great many people. But be that as it may, I just want to take just a moment to talk about the trust that we established. Very simply, when an individual or an organization is in a position where they credibly believe that they are going to receive a large windfall, in the case of the Iraqi dinar, this is not large, this is huge. And when you find yourself in that position, one of the things you can do is take that asset and take it out of your Social Security number, which is basically available to anyone that can get the information. Excuse me there, little problem. And place it in trust. By placing it in trust, you preserve your privacy and your anonymity. You avoid IRS scrutiny. You're able to gift currencies to family and friends and control the post-RV proceeds if you wish. The trust will allow your estate to bypass the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. By avoiding probate, no one will know the size of your estate, who your heirs are, how much they each stand to inherit, and they will receive their inheritance immediately. You'll also avoid the federal estate tax, which can be as high as 55% of your estate in excess of $12 million. And The trust also provides asset protection benefits. Pre-RV, you will avoid the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. Basically, if you bought 10 million dinar for $10,000, transferred it to the trust out of personal title, you can only be sued for the value of the transfer, $10,000, not the value of the currency in trust once it reinstitutes in the values. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as, which protects you from future bad acts through segregation of assets. By placing each asset in a separate subtrust, you limit any potential civil suit post-RV. Someone slips in one of your rental properties, it's only that property involved in the litigation. All of your other assets, homes, cars, boats, etc., are in other subtrusts, which under the law are separate legal entities not involved in the litigation. So for all of these reasons, I would strongly suggest that if you have not yet done so, contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. It has everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're not required to do so. You can review the package. Contact us if you have any questions. We'll be happy to assist you. I'm going to go to a Q&A here in just a moment. I'm sorry for being so brief today, but there's a lot going on here right now. We've had individuals that we've sent packages to months ago, even years ago, and the general consensus is we're rounding the final turn here, so now they all want to set up their trust or they have some final questions before they proceed. So I've got to do right by them and get back on the phone, but I am going to open the Q&A here for any potential questions, if this thing will work here. While I'm waiting for any potential questions, if you're interested in getting our initial no-obligation trust package, you can contact us either by email or phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. And our phone service is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Contact us by email or phone. We'll get a trust package out to you as quickly as possible. Contact us if you have any questions. And again, everything you need is there if you wish to proceed. And I'm deadly serious when I say we finally have come to a place where we're running out of time. If you want to get your trust in force and your affairs in order pre-RV, now would be the time to get it done. So let's go to our Q&A. Our first caller here is area code 347. That's 347. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, another thing is about Israel, and they like attacked Qatar, and they're not. I don't think they're serious about peace in Gaza. So that's gonna. What if that destabilizes the whole thing and ruins the RV?
I think that it's a possibility, but unlikely. And the reason I think that is because I think Netanyahu does not want to cross Donald Trump. I think it's that simple. I understand from the perspective of Israel in their internal politics why they had to do something. I understand how people feel that this thing could escalate, but it's odd. It's small. Israel is basically the size of New Jersey, and it's got more military might than the rest of the Middle East, which is basically the size of the contiguous United States. So I think Trump's got a handle on that. I don't think he's going to allow that to happen. And Israel absolutely needs the support of the United States. They cannot go it alone. So I know it's a possibility, but I think it's highly unlikely that it's going to affect what we're discussing here today.
No, but Trump said that he wasn't even notified of Israel attacking like the Hamas in Qatar.
And what did he say after that? He said, I'm really upset about that. So that's he's telling you that now the fact that he's angry means that even puts Israel more in a box. So yeah, I mean anything's possible, but I'm really not worried about that escalating. And Israelis have dinar too, so I'm not too worried about that. Okay.
No, but what about what about like, do you think the 15th, the U.S. is supposed to withdraw from Iraq, right? The military bases inside Iraq,
right?
I mean, if they don't do it then, if they don't trigger the RV then I don't know.
If the situation escalates, the Iraqis will want the United States military to stay there. Again, I know it sounds like an oversimplistic answer, but I think we have the right guy in the White House for this situation. He's created peace. He's ended a couple of wars, that everyone said were going to go on forever. So, I just trust the guy, and I just think he's going to handle it. He also knows that all of the things that he wants to do with equalizing trade, with not allowing the devaluation of currencies to market the international trade, with what he's doing with tariffs, his entire second term is blown up if there's a major war in the Middle East, and I just don't think he's going to allow it to happen. And if he has to go in there militarily and, kick some ass, I think he will. I think he's had it. I think he's all done with this.
Also, you have the other things, Armando, like you have NATO going into, now you have Russia going into NATO territory, and then you have on the other side, you have this Taiwan thing. So any one of those can any one of those situations outside of the Middle East, like if they, they could postpone the.
Well, it's possible. It's possible we could have a meteor strike and we go back to the Stone Age. Anything's possible. I just feel like we have the key to all of this is the administration in the United States of America.
Okay.
This is the only entity that can make sure to kick to the curb whatever gets in the way of this. I personally think that he'll get the job done. Just look at his track record to see what he's done. He's controlled inflation. He's closed the border. He's just doing all kinds of things that they said could not be done. So I just feel that he's going to handle that. We're right on the cusp of this thing happening, and I just don't think he's going to allow anything to undo it. That's just my opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. How are you today?
Very busy, but doing well, thanks.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Last time you indicated I'd asked you about the dong, and you said you were going to check with some of your contacts, and I was wondering if you had an opportunity to do that to see what they're reading on what it could possibly do and when.
Well, I'll tell you what they said to me. This should say it all. They've increased substantially their position with the Vietnamese dong.
I think that answers the question.
Okay. Now, remember, uber wealthy billionaire type guys, they don't, if they want it to happen tomorrow, but they don't need it to happen tomorrow. So when they take a position, it's because they think it's going to come to fruition, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen tomorrow. However, from my discussions with them, and I posed this, and they sort of agreed that the linchpin is the Iraqi dinar, and they're going to see what happens to Iraq, and that means that these central banks in these countries, and the nonsense is they're going to just kick all that to the curb and say, get this damn thing done. Okay, we want to be Iraq 2.0.
Makes sense.
So,
thank you for the history lesson today.
Yes. Oh, sure. Bye-bye now. Okay, our next caller is area code, let's see, 808. Hello?
Good morning. Oh, it's morning my time. It's Daisy.
Yeah, Daisy, how are you?
I'm great. I had a problem with my phone, and so I need your number that I can call when I miss the call, that I can call and hear the repeat, please.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, the playback number. You got to pick. Ready to write this down? 605 313 5163. So read that back.
605-313-51. Okay, I lost that last one.
63.
63. Okay.
And you use the same access code.
Right. I know that part. But
Okay.
I was like, I couldn't get that, and then I couldn't get on this morning, and I was panicking.
Well, this is now remember.
After almost
this is
20 years. What's that?
Hey, I do
we
that
will
too.
need it pretty soon.
We're all getting older.
Yeah. Oh, tell me. I mean, like you had just had another, mile-breaking birthday.
Really? Well, when was your birthday?
It was on the 21st, and wasn't it on the 12th?
11th of August.
The 11th. Okay. Well, I know it was pretty close to mine. I mean, the dates.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I used to feel like I got ripped off with a summer birthday because at school, in elementary school, when people had birthdays during school, they had a party, but my birthday was in the summer, so I never got a party.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah. Funny things you remember when you get older.
I know. Anyway, I just needed that, and I appreciate you being there, and let's just keep praying that it happens, in our lifetime.
Amen to that. It's coming. It's coming. Take care.
I will. You take care, and thanks. Keep up the good work.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Our next caller, I may have screwed. I think our next caller is area code 720. That's 720. Go ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. I sure can.
This is Julie in Colorado. I was on last week, and I was muted and it got passed over. I have 3 questions.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry about that.
Yeah. Number 1, when I looked at my paperwork recently, they have the wrong digit on my house address. I'm 634, and it's printed out at 632. How can I fix that?
You go to the top of that page, click Allow Edit, and make the change, or you just white it out. That's not a critical piece of information. So
okay, because I printed it out so long ago, I don't know if I could even access. And I have called Wyoming repeatedly, and they never get back to me. Number 2.
No, because Wyoming is not an issue until we hit the Forex. You deal with us. Don't deal with Wyoming. Okay.
Okay. Number 2. I just lost my train of thought. What is an equitable charge from the bank when we deposit, when we go to the bank, and when are they being excessive and we should look someplace else?
Okay, you're talking about
a percentage, a fee.
Yes,
yeah.
But yes, there is, but the percentage should drop with the amount of currency that you have. We are in the process of talking to banks right now. They are kind of closed-lipped, so we ask them general questions. What's going to be the charge for the transaction? And the other issue that's important to us is, are they going to try to put a 21-day hold on the money? Most of the banks have said somewhere between 5 to 10 day. I still don't think that's acceptable unless I get a really attractive rate. Then I can wait an extra week if I'm going to get a really attractive rate. But the reason, what some of the banks do, you'll get a deposit slip and it'll put on there 21-day hold. And, of course, the reason the bank does that, they get to float that money for 21 days. So that's something you've got to discuss with them up front. Now, when people do get our trust, and you should have received it, one of the attachments was the exchange protocol if you have a trust. You need to review that document. However, once the dinar hits the Forex, obviously our calls will completely shift, and the first thing we're going to deal with is the exchange process, what you take to the bank, what you say, what you don't say, what you show them, what you don't show them, what you can accept, what you will not accept, and you have to be willing to look them in the eye and say, that's not acceptable, I'm going to another bank. You won't even get to your car. But unfortunately, that's the way it has to be played with these people. The person sitting there, to be completely honest with you, in that cubicle, is a person that's been at that bank and has been told not to purchase dinar and other currencies because they're a scam. So they're already not in a good mood when you walk in with 10 million dinar with a big smile on your face. So, well,
I've got 16.
Even at $1, that's 16 million. So you walk into the bank with something you purchased for $16,000, and you walk out with a deposit slip for $16 million. So, that's very difficult emotionally for someone working at that bank that was told point blank, this is a scam. And I've had bankers tell me that, and I'm like, okay, all right, fine, But it is what it is. But we'll be providing a lot of information once the dinar hits a forex. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Third question, and then I'll let you go.
Okay.
How do I actually deposit? What do I do to put the 16 into the trust before the reval? What do I have to go through?
Well, then you need to review your initial trust package. One of the documents that you got and was identified in the instructions was you got something called the currency assignment form. By signing that form.
I've got a whole stack. I printed out the whole thing, and I've got a whole stack of paper.
Well, but the currency assignment form was not within the trust itself. It was one of the supplemental documents. If I were you, I would just go to that original email with the trust that we sent you and reprint the currency assignment form, complete that form. When you do that,
that was so long ago. I don't know if I can even find it in my email. It was so long ago. It's been over a year.
If you pull up our name at the top, and it'll show all of your emails. You just find the one which is near the top. If it's not the first one, with our trust package, open it up, and you'll see the attachments. Just when you see currency assignment form, click it. That'll open it up, print it, fill it out. You're good to go.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to. I don't have a computer. I go to the lab at the library, and they help me. So I'll have to do some digging. Thank you so much, Jim. I appreciate it.
Sure. Even if what I've told you should take about 3 minutes, but if you're not computer savvy or it's not your computer, but give yourself about an hour so you can get everything done. Once you sign the currency assignment form, the currencies have been officially assigned to the trust. You need to do that. That has to be done pre-RV. So get to the bank as soon as you can, get that currency assignment form, and fill it out. Okay?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. Bye-bye now. Our next caller is area code 509. That's 509. Go ahead.
Hello there. Hello there, sir. It's Art from
Art,
the Left Coast. I'm doing well. I had a section chief would tell me, you ain't said snack bar, sir. And that's when he was receiving good information. And so I got to tell you ain't said snack bar, sir. What you're coming up with, you get your beacon of truth and good news, my friend. I have a question regarding the take that you might have on the deluge of information that's coming out on YouTube regarding the dong and the dinar and what's going on here and what's going on there, and they're even quoting rates and what have you. You got to go now. You got to go now to the bank. You throw a holler at a bank and they have no idea what you're talking about. They even scoff at you still at this point, denying anything.
That's because even when the dinar hits the forex, if the dinar hits the forex at you look at the paper or you see on the news that the dinar hit the forex at 9 in the morning. You're at the bank at 11. They're still not up to speed. They have to have their little meeting, explain to them what's going on, explain to them if someone comes. And I will tell you, if it's the dinar and the dong, what's probably going to happen with all of the ordinary, you walk in the bank and they say, I need to talk to a teller or I need to talk to someone in an office. They send you in the office. As soon as a person sees you have dinar, they probably are going to kick it upstairs to whoever the number one person is in that branch, you know. So this is uncharted water for the bank as well. They're going to be schooled on how to handle the transaction. But I just remember from the Kuwaiti dinar way back how they treated you like you were, I don't know, J.P. Morgan. I mean, it was a big deal, and that was nothing compared to this. This is the only reason they should be prepared to deal with this is because this thing's been going on for basically 30 years. So, you know, and for the first half of those 30 years, it was a scam. But then it was, hey, wait a minute, this might not be a scam. And then it was, hey, this isn't a scam. So they've been through the whole thing, you know, soup to nuts, and they're going to be ready to go. You shouldn't have a problem at all. But like I said, you have to look carefully at the transaction fee. You have to look carefully at the rate. You look at the Forex and you look at the rate that they're offering you. And again, you have to make sure they do not try to put a 21-day hold on your money. What they might do in a negotiation is say, okay, we're going to put a 21-day hold on half of your money. The other half will be available in 3 to 5, something like that. But they are going to want to float some of that money. The bank is, and I mean, they're literally be afraid of being fired. If they say to you, here's your $30 million, you can have it in 3 days. They literally might be afraid they get in trouble if they did that. You know, they may have been told, you cannot do that. You send them to us, or you tell them no, thank you. But we're going to float that money.
That makes it even more imperative. That we have the redemption centers rather than banks would be the optimum place to take them, because you won't have that challenge.
How will they know to contact?
Well, and how do they know?
But the redemption center, I mean, once again, the issue is the rate and the exchange and the transaction fee. That's what you got to know, because just one little tick in the wrong direction could be literally hundreds of thousands of dollars to you. And then you got to say to yourself, well, I have to wait an extra 3 days if I go to the bank, but I've got an extra $460,000. So I'm just going to suck it up and go to the bank. You know, for 99% of the people going to the bank, they generally don't make a living as a negotiator, and they've never even discussed numbers with these kind of zeros. So they're already scared to death, you know. So,
right.
You know, and then other people are going to get cute, and they have all these, you know, I've had people call me and talk about, you know, we'd like to talk to your clients about, you know, some investment, and I say, well, okay, just send it to me, you know, and then sure enough, it turns out to be a performer for some get-rich-quick thing, and I'm saying there is absolutely no way that I would, after what we've been through, what these people had before they walked into the bank and what they have now, no, we're not, to be honest with you, we're not doing any of that. Okay, we're funding the sub-trust, we're servicing the trust, that's it. Everyone's investment stuff's on their own.
Well, the reason for the trust to begin with is the anonymity. So for them to call you and ask for phone numbers and what have you is pretty bold.
Well, no, what they want us to do, they're not asking. What they're saying is we would like you on your calls or in your communications, your emails, et cetera, to refer them to us. And the only thing I would do, I used to be an investment advisor. I no longer have my investment advisory. The only thing I could say to somebody is, this is what I personally did, and I had a good experience. I got a good result, or I had made a nice profit. I could do that, but I can't go beyond that, and I won't go beyond that. And I won't be around anyway, because the people that are servicing the trust, I'm the guy marketing the trust. They're the guys servicing the trust. So I'm going to be like the rest of you. I'm going to get the hell out of Dodge and have a good time.
That may not be right, but correct, man.
To be perfectly blunt about it.
If it were true, yeah. Would you really expect these banks to allow people just to walk in with a satchel of documents and currency? Wouldn't you think they'd want to set up appointments telephonically or go through that matter?
Well, yeah, of course you'll set up. I guess you could walk into a bank, but yeah, you would want to set. The reason you'd set it up an appointment is because most people are going to call 3 or 4 banks just to find out what kind of a deal they have before they make a decision, and then they'll call and say, hey, you know what, we spoke 2 days ago. My name's Jim George. We discussed I have these following currency. I'd like to set up an appointment, But then again, there are people who are going to run to the bank with their hair on fire, and the bank wants the money. I mean, the bank are asset collectors, so once they're told, hey, this thing is a scam, and they're going to probably have to have a cry session with the employees that were told don't buy the dinar, it's a scam, and then they're going to say, oh, by the way, you're going to have a bunch of people coming in to exchange their currency,
But, I'm sure the bank is probably going to get a spiff. The banker's going to get a little bit of a spiff on it, I'm sure.
Well, so I kind of think the banks are going to play it straight because the amount of money. I mean, it makes no sense to try to jip people or shave a point here or there when they know this is just mammoth. They do not want a bad name on the street. They do not want anyone going out there saying I had a bad experience with Wells Fargo. Don't go there. They don't want that out there. So I think they're gonna play it straight. I really do. But of course, if they don't, you just have to be willing to say no, thank you. I'm going to another bank. The only issue that could arise is depending upon the timing. Taxes will be due on the 15th day of the first month of the next quarter. So if we have a reinstitution of the currency, taxes are going to have to be paid. And according to Section 98082 of the Internal Revenue Code says that if the profit that you would realize from an exchange exceeds $200, you must pay the tax. So they're saying the tax is due when the value of the currency increases, not when you exchange it. That also means it's not a cap gain; it's ordinary income as well. Right. So we have to be prepared to get to the bank, negotiate the best exchange we can, make sure you pay that tax. If you're not sure what the tax is, overpay it. I'd rather get a refund than get hit with a 100% penalty for non-payment. So, and we'll be discussing as soon as the thing hits the Forex. That's all we'll be dealing with. This stuff.
All righty. Well, my friend, you take care. Thank you kindly. Hopefully we'll be getting some kind of information about it soon.
I hope so. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 301. That's 301. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. It's Larry from Maryland. I do apologize first. I missed most of the initial talk. I came in a little bit late. But my question, kind of under all of what is going on, are we basically, is the bank, Iraq Bank, finishing and we're really waiting for like regulatory and physical compliance, their ability to actually run the system, and then when that is all in effect, then they would turn everything on? Is that essentially what's going on?
You definitely missed the beginning of our call, but I'll just give you the simplistic bottom line. Once the Iraqi dinar reinstitute in country with a new rate that will be divulged with the release of Article 12-2C within their budget, then we are prepared to go to the banks because the dinar will be on the Forex at the new reinstituted rate, at which point, of course, it's going to move dramatically. In my opinion, I think it's going to go up and then maybe drop slightly and then go up, because then the crowd's involved. And then a lot of the movements are going to be emotional, not, based on Basel compliance or any other analytics. So we're just going to have to get through all of this. My suggestion to people is don't get clever, don't get too cute, don't get too greedy. Mm-hmm. If you purchase 5 million dinar for $5,000, and they're offering you, I'm just making up a number, go back to 346, and you say, well, I think it's going to be 375, I'm going to wait, and then tomorrow it's 326, and then you go to your calculator and figure out how much money you lost, because just don't drive yourself crazy. Everyone that has dinar is going to make, pardon my French, a freaking fortune. Be happy with it. Money is a drug, and it's poison. And I've been doing financial work all my life, and I can tell you that it affects everyone in some way negatively. And now we're talking about a huge amount of money, and a lot of dinarians are not wealthy people. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons we established the financing system for our trust is because people couldn't afford to pay the $2,500 up front, but they had currencies. They understood the need for the trust once the currencies reinstitute. They believed the currency is going to reinstitute, so they knew they had to have the trust, And we had so many people say, gee, I love everything you say. I just don't have $2,500. Or, I remember at one point some guy said, I guess I'll have to just sell some of my currency. And that's when I went to the attorneys and said, can't we do something, And we worked out the deferred payment arrangement. But, like I said, even if it comes back at $1 million dinar, you paid $1,000 for it, you got $1 million for it. Don't look back. Be thankful. It's easier said than done, I know, but most profitable, positive things are,
Okay, and then you are expecting that we'll have a couple banks to choose from when it's time?
Oh, certainly. Oh, I'm kidding. Oh, gosh, yeah. That's the other thing. We're gonna get on the phone, and we have a little bit of leverage. I've talked to some of these people already because they know we have a lot of clients, and they want us. What they would love for us to do is get on there and say, go to this bank and tell them you have our trust, and this is what you're going to. It's not going to be like that, but there's going to be a little bit of a, they know we have thousands of trust holders, and they've got to go somewhere. So, but like I said, some people are just going to run to the bank. If it happens early in the quarter, you don't have to exchange it all right away. Don't get too cute again, but if it's early in the quarter, then you don't have to worry about taxes being paid in the next 10 to 14 days. That's the other issue with the banks that want to do a 21-day hold. If it happened late in the quarter, you say, hey, guy, I got to pay taxes in 11 days. I can't do that. And what kind of professionals are you at the bank knowing that the taxes are going to be due in 11 days and you want to put a 21-day hold on my money? You guys either don't know what you're doing or you don't care about your account holders, so I'm going somewhere else.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. All right. Take care now. Well, that was our last caller for today. Again, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to listen to this call. Most of us have been involved in this for a number of years, certainly a lot longer than we thought we were going to be involved. And I really think that we're rounding the last turn here, and this thing's just about over, and we can start thinking about other things other than funding the trust and assigning our currencies to the trust. We can think about all of the good things we want to do for ourselves and our family, charities, and other things of that nature. Again, I strongly suggest you contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. We have a turnaround time for trust 3 to 5 days, unless we're really jammed up, and time is running short. You can contact us by email or phone to get our trust package. Again, that's Trusts with an S, Unlimited LLC at gmail.com, or our phone service, which is 307-274-4122. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be back next Wednesday. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature happens between now and then, we'll try to get an emergency email out and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. God bless.